Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Learn with Jason. Today on the show, we're bringing back the one, the only B. Dougie. Yo, Brian Douglas, how you doing, man?
I am doing fantastic. How are you doing?
I'm doing really well. I'm having just a great day. Any day that I get to hang out with you is a good day.
That's awesome. Well, we should do it more often.
Absolutely, absolutely. I know why I'm excited, but for folks who aren't familiar with you, do you want to maybe give us a little bit of a background?
Yeah. So, B. Dougie, my given name is Brian Douglas, which is on the lower third, and I am a staff developer advocate at GitHub, focused on getting people to use features. I talked to a lot of open source maintainers, talked to a lot of people who are in the chat, and just doing my thing out here in Oakland, California. I was enjoying sun last week, but we're one of the few areas not getting the heat wave.
Oh, wow.
Hopefully I'm not making everybody else feel bad with that while they're sweating in the US. But just enjoying 66-degree weather every day.
Oh, you're just out with a light jacket. No, it's
Yeah, I mean, I'd have my cardigan on, so I figured I'd dress for the occasion.
Good. I'm not jealous at all. No, it finally feels like it's cooling down again in Portland. So we might go outside today. Who knows? You also run Open Sauce. You're a streamer. You do a whole bunch of just kind of really, really cool things for the open source community. I'm a big fan. I also have where is it? I've got the sub. I've got the pizza face. You can see down in the chat there. We've got the pizza emote, which is a brilliant idea that I keep intending to steal and keep not doing. Today we're gonna focus down a little bit. So in general, you do a lot of open source work, and as we all know, a huge amount of open source work happens on GitHub. And one of the things that gets really tricky as you start working on lots and lots of open source is that things start to kind of sprawl on you. There's a lot of little chores. There's a lot of small hoops that you got to jump through. And most of it is stuff that's really repetitive. So you work a lot with GitHub Actions, which are kind of designed to make that less painful, right? I mean, I guess that's not all they're designed for. Maybe I should let you give the overview. What are GitHub Actions for?
Yeah. I'm happy to do that. And this is my second time on. So the first time we actually chatted, we did do it a GitHub Action, and we were very brand new into GitHub Actions. I think we were about 9 months in.
Yeah.
And there were a lot of question marks that we sort of discovered together. I was very new to Actions myself too. I don't know if it showed, but to describe GitHub Actions, it is a way to automate portions of your workflow in and around GitHub. So GitHub itself has been around for about 14 years. And about a month after it launched, we launched an API. And I mentioned that because GitHub Actions is built around a bunch of primitives for GitHub. So the API, authentication, webhooks, it's all built in by default inside of your repositories. You just have to go to the Actions tab, enable it, and you're good to go. And it gives you options to automate. You can run your test, which is an obvious automation, or you can automate your deployments. So if you're using something besides Netlify, or maybe if you're using Netlify and you're deploying other sites based on things that are actually changing, you can actually trigger the Netlify deploys using CLI commands. And as well as what we're going to do maybe a little later, which is add comments to PRs, which is trivial, nice. But I picked a trivial example to hopefully talk about some other stuff that is not so trivial about using GitHub Actions.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and I think one of the things that's really hard for me, at least whenever I start looking at a new tool, especially one that's in sort of an opsy or automation space, is a lot of times I have a hard time seeing myself using it. I try to kind of visualize I see how this is useful if you're Google. I see how this is useful if you've got a team of 50 engineers, but how is this useful for me? And so what I like about GitHub Actions is that it doesn't feel like, oh, I got to set up a huge amount of infrastructure here. I can kind of just put together a little bit and give it a try and see what it does. And so the on-ramp is lower, which is always kind of friendly. You know, it's one of the things that I love about tooling in general. It's why I work where I work. It's why I use most of the tools I use. Is I like it when people take a bunch of the busy work away from me and let me just do the stuff that I want to do. So maybe we should talk a little bit about just kind of the specifics of what we're going to do today. So you said we're going to comment on some PRs. What is the overview of this? Like, what are we going to be using, and what does it do, and why is it useful to me as a GitHub maintainer?
Yeah. So zooming out a bit, we're gonna just basically trigger actions around PRs because that's a piece of automation that a lot of maintainers care about.
Mm-hmm.
They want to automate things like labeling PRs. So whether this PR is something that needs to be triaged or actually tested. I've been working on an action that basically, actually I haven't been working on. One of my contributors took this over.
Oh, nice.
An action. If you open a PR, there's no issue attached to the PR. I want to flag that as like not a red flag, but more of like maybe this wasn't needed, but I'm going to take my time to review this because this is unwanted, not wanted code. That sounds horrible, but this is code that maybe wasn't expected, and this is a kind of an issue like during times at Hacktoberfest. We just get a lot of contributions for the sake of contributions,
yeah,
and I want to label those to either notify folks or comment on those to let people know, hey, thanks, but maybe open an issue first so we can have the discussion first. Because I think with open source, as a maintainer, you could say yes to too much stuff and then get overwhelmed and burnt out. And we see this, I see it all the time with maintainers and sort of having like, this was great, but also I don't think like maintaining is not cut out for me. So my hope is that like showcasing this, we could approach things to automate and like make sure everybody has a good experience, maintainers, but also contributors.
Yeah, I think, not to fall into a philosophical rabbit hole here, but I do think this is worth talking about a little bit. One of the big tragedies that I see is when somebody who is really motivated but doesn't have like strong boundary setting skills gets into open source. You'll just see them get eaten alive, and you watch them pour themselves into it, and they do amazing work. And the problem is that when you give work away for free, there is definitely a non-trivial percentage of the population that doesn't value free work at all. And so no matter how much you give, they always want more and they're always unhappy with it. And having that conversation with somebody who, like, hey, you work on a tool, they like your tool, but they want you to do something for them and you don't have time, or it's not high on your priority list, and then they yell at you for it, right? That's a really uncomfortable conversation to have. And so something that I find interesting about this is what you're suggesting is that rather than forcing open source contributors to have these uncomfortable conversations over and over and over again, they can find some of the most common energy drains around their repos and put some light automation in place. So not like roboticize the repo and make it inhuman, but just the things that are going to be a problem, the things that are going to be challenging, that take a lot of your time and energy, you can say, hey, in this repo, we do it like this. This is the process. You didn't follow the process. It's not because I don't like you. It's because I have to protect my time. But then you're not the one doing that. It's not your emotional labor to be the one saying that. I like that. I know this is something that you think about a lot. Like it's the subject of your show with open source is kind of thinking about that. But do you feel like what I just ran through, do you feel like that is a viable way to help protect maintainers and kind of prevent some burnout?
Yeah. I think it very much is. But there's a give and take. So like automating too many things is definitely a thing that I've seen. Where like as soon as you try to make a commit, you get hit with a what do you call it, what's the pre-commit Husky. Yeah, you get hit with Husky and you're like, oh man, what is this? Okay, I'm gonna spend the week trying to fix all these things that I didn't touch. And then you get the PR open and it's like, oh, can you rebase? And you're like, oh, okay, let me learn how to rebase. And this is actually all stuff I've hit when trying to contribute to projects. And then I figure out how to rebase, and it's like, oh, sign the CLA. And then I sign the CLA, and then then it's like, oh, by the way, you didn't read the contributing MD. It's like, well, I didn't because I was doing all this other stuff.
It's like I opened up the contributing MD and it opened up another automation that said I needed to sign an SLA. Like, what am I?
Yeah. Or it takes you to a whole other website, which is, it's all unfortunate stuff, and it's stuff that maintainers do to protect themselves,
Hmm.
but also not realizing that there's a gate when it comes to open source, and
Absolutely.
sometimes there's this thing when I've been talking about unintentional gatekeeping, where you don't realize you're putting gates around your project and saying, you know what, only folks who know how to use Rebase or only folks who've used Git since 2007 um,
Hmm.
can contribute to this project. If you came to my project and you have no idea what Rebase is, like why are you here? Get out of
Yeah.
here.
How dare
And
you?
like, yeah, and it's like most people are not intentionally doing that.
Yeah.
But some people, because they've as a maintainer, they hit trauma or they hit a anxiety level. It's just like, I'm never going to do that again. And then
Hmm.
now they're basically passing out their pain to everybody else by saying, no, thanks, close, and like passive aggressive, like, yeah. Anyway, what I'm getting at is like there's a way to not over automate. What I do actually is I automate whenever a new contributor contributes to my project. There's a little comment that just automates itself. It's not like trying to get anybody to do anything except join our Discord. And I
Mm.
do that intentionally because in Discord, it's so much easier to have awkward conversations of like, I don't know GraphQL. Like,
Yeah.
and open source uses GraphQL. So like join the Discord, ask the questions about GraphQL, or I can give you links and stuff like that. And then I can be like, oh, wow, there should be a doc on this. And then I can go open an issue, prep for creating docs and stuff like that, which has happened a lot in my project because the project I've been working on since I worked at Netlify previously. I started it while I was doing advocacy there. And it, I just happened to just be building it on my own. So there's a lot of knowledge that I didn't document because I didn't think I would be still working on this thing 4 years later. But
Mm.
here we are, and that's kind of how open source works. It's like
Yeah.
one project takes off, and you're like, oh, I guess I'm maintaining this thing.
Yeah, exactly. I think that is well, and that's the part that's always heartbreaking too, is when you see somebody just like they hit their wall and they're like, okay, I'm done. I'm just walking away. And we've seen this with a few projects, even recently, where the maintainers are posting public apologies because they burned out, and it's like, man, you shouldn't feel guilty about taking
Yeah,
like putting your mental health first. That's not a bad thing. Like, don't feel guilty about
yeah.
that.
Yeah,
But
it's honestly, yeah, sorry to cut you off, but you can get sucked in
mhm,
sometimes because you're like, I've been writing code for 8 years on GitHub, and
mhm.
magically one project takes off, and
Yeah,
now I'm excited and I'm getting like all the dopamine or the endorphins that are saying, wow, people like my code. I must be doing something right. So let me
yeah.
cater to this. Let me invite you to the party. Let me give you contributor access. And then one day you realize it's like, oh, this is the only thing I'm working on right now. And I kind of I'm not interested in this code anymore. Like,
Mm,
what's the handoff path? Like, what can I do to no longer be like either the face, or do I just disappear? And a lot of times that's what happens. People just sort of just stop responding to things, and they move on. And if I've contributed to projects, and like back in the day, there was a project around the GraphQL space, like very early on, and I really liked it. And the maintainer responded to a couple of my contributions early on, and I was like, oh, cool. And like I started doing talks about this stuff, and then it sort of just fell off. And I didn't know what happened. I didn't know how to maintain. I still today don't know what happened to the maintainer. I even responded to issues like, "Hey, if you want, I can take over this. Like, I can maintain it. Um, I really want to keep using this library." And it just never. Yeah, I never got a response. I ended up forking it and using it, and
mm,
then eventually I moved on because there were better tools at that point. Apollo
sure.
had a better tool, so I was just like, oh, I'm just going to use this thing now.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, cool. So all of that kind of philosophical underpinning in place. Today we're going to write a GitHub action that will listen for a PR. I'm just repeating what you said to make sure I understand it. So we're gonna
Yeah.
write a GitHub action that listens for a new PR, and when it sees a new PR, it's going to check for some condition, and if that condition is true, it's going to check that we didn't mention an issue, right?
We can go that deep. Yeah. So basically, actually, I do have an issue open on this in open source. If you wanted to
Oh,
take a
sure.
look at that. So first, issue number 1072. So you an open source.
All right, let me
I created
switch
that
us over
issue.
to pair
Yeah.
programming here. And before
So-
we dive in, let me do a couple shout outs here. I'm gonna shout out first and foremost. We have this episode, like every episode, being live captioned. We've got Rachel with us today, so thank you very much, Rachel. That is on the homepage of the site, learnwithjason.dev. You can see the live captions right here, as well as watching along with the show. That's made possible by our sponsors, Netlify, Fauna, Auth0, and Hasura, all of whom are kicking in to make the show more accessible to more people, which I really appreciate. While you're clicking on things on the internet, make sure you go over and check out Brian Douglas's Twitter. Get on there; it's a lot of fun. It's a good pizza-filled feed. All things that I enjoy. There's also a lot of Beyonce, which is another like very I don't know. I'm never sad to see Beyonce on the feed. And then we're going to be talking about GitHub Actions today. So is this the right page I should link people to for GitHub Actions, or should I use a different one?
No, that works.
Okay, so let me
that will get you
in.
started. There's links to Dockster and everything like that. So yeah, it's a good place to. It's the thing that we started with GitHub Actions, having these landing pages for features. We grew up as a company, and now I can point people to github.com/feature/whatever the feature name is.
Nice. Okay. Oh, and you said you created an issue 1072 here. So
Yeah,
this is the open source repo for y'all to go check out.
So we can get to the point where we actually check for issues and see if there's or check for PRs and check that if there's linked issues. We could do that in I think step 2 actually. Okay. But basically this is like the path I figure we could walk down. There's going to be a couple things because I already have a bunch of actions enabled on my project. Just by you opening a PR, we can actually talk through what happened. And because I believe you've never contributed to open source. If you have, this is not going to work. But if you haven't contributed to open source, I'll show you exactly what happens when you first time contributor. The actions don't run automatically. And this is like kind of the overarching conversation I wanted to have about PRs and actions, because this comes up all the time.
Sure.
Is GitHub, we have a lot of users, 65 million users worldwide. Everybody uses GitHub differently. It's a power tool, which is totally okay and fine. But when it comes to open source, a lot of these projects operate like companies, but with contributors from everywhere.
Sure.
So it's like a different model than like what our paid, or what our enterprise customers are using. So for that reason, and because Bitcoin mining, we don't let you have first-time contributors open up PRs and trigger any actions. You as a maintainer have to say yes to this.
And so to repeat the threat model there, if I am a first-time contributor and I'm a dirtbag, I could write a GitHub action that would do crypto mining, open a pull request on your repo, and then it would do crypto mining against your account, right?
Yep. And it would just run. So let's say if you ran a cron job, it will run indefinitely until I woke up one day and said, oh, wow, looks like all my action minutes are gone. And then for context, you get 2,000 action minutes for free, which is pretty generous, which is why it's so advantageous to set up Monero miners inside of NPM modules, which are actual examples of what's happened. I'll point out the GitHub Security Lab has articles on all these examples and these threat models, specifically for actions. And I highly recommend checking them out if you're interested and are concerned at all in any way.
Nice. Okay, cool. So if I want to start here, like I want to make a change, I assume I need to clone the repo, right?
Yep. You can clone or you can fork. Forking is a good start.
All right, let's fork it.
You'll have to fork eventually.
Yeah, so let's do that. And I can wait. How do I do this from the GitHub? So if I want to go to if I use the GitHub CLI, I can just fork.
If you want to use the
GitHub
CLI, yeah. So if you go to the GitHub CLI, go to the GitHub repo, and there's a green button. It'll give you the actual command that you can copy and paste. So
what? CLI, oh, look at that. That's cool. Okay, and then if I wanted to fork it, can I just say like fork?
Honestly, I don't know if there's a fork command. I actually haven't. I've never done that. I usually just fork from there.
I can. Oh yeah. Okay, I'm gonna do that.
There we go.
So I'm just gonna fork it straight up.
Okay.
Let's see if it works. All right, here we go, everybody. I forked it. Oh well, it forked to the wrong place, but that's okay. We'll make it work.
Okay, so I guess you would have wanted it to learn with Jason instead.
Yeah, that's okay though. We as long as I can link to it, it's fine. So I have a fork. Here's, oops, let's go
Excellent.
into open source. Good. All right, so I have all the things. So then if I open this in VS Code, which opened in the wrong tab, get this over here. Oh, come on, get like jump back to the wrong window. Come on now, here you go. So here we've got the different folders. Here's our source, and when we're looking at this repo, this is OpenSauce.pizza, right?
Yep. Yeah, and I guess we didn't really explain this too as well, but OpenSauce.pizza is the project that I mentioned earlier that I made. It's the path to your next open source contribution, which is a very broad way to say that I just want people to contribute open source. So we don't have this feature yet, but if you logged in, what you get is from recommendations, so for repos to start tracking and then start contributing to. I have a whole like algorithm idea that I've been talking with the contributors about, where there's gonna be suggestions from other open source users. And the way we do this is we actually look at your stars. So if you star a repo, it gets thrown into the pool of possible projects to contribute to.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to basically check from other users if you star the same repos. Then that would be a good signal of like, hey, this is a project everybody should probably pay attention to because 10 people are interested in this. And then I'm going to go a step further. And this is all pie in the sky. I have not made this happen, but eventually then we'll have some like recommendations of what issues to work on.
Nice. Very cool. Yeah. And so what we have done here is we've just cloned the repo for this whole project. And I now have a copy of it locally, and it's my fork. So if I look at, I believe if I do like a git remote, nope, that's not it.
Dash V.
Just dash V.
Yeah.
I thought I had to like,
no ls.
There we go. So it gives us the upstream of the open source library, and then the origin is my fork.
Yep.
Which
is like this,
can I just,
this concept right here. This is like what confused me about contributing, and GitHub CLI gives that to you for free.
I got to tell you, the GitHub CLI is such a game changer. Like before the GitHub CLI, I was using Hub. Hub was an amazing tool. It still is an amazing tool. It does a lot of cool things. But the GitHub CLI has been really just incredible. Let me throw a link in, because if y'all aren't using it, I use it all the time. It's so dang good, and you should absolutely go give this thing a try. It's very, very good. I see the chat is, first of all, Chris Biscardi hit his 2-year sub mark today, right before we started.
Oh, wow.
Which, thank you very much, Chris, for all the support. And also, I can't believe I've been doing this for 2 years. And then they just called out that I did, in fact, install. I did install the Fortnite
theme.
So
yes.
let me add the Fortnite. Let's turn it on and let's look at. Yeah, so this is the new Fortnite theme from Sarah Drasner. It's amazing. It's got the glow. It's got all those things that you would want. Let me enable legendary mode.
That's amazing. I saw the tweet. I didn't look into this, but my coworker installed this and was playing around with it last night.
Look at this llama. Like it's just such a ridiculous thing. And yeah, here's the chicken. I don't get it. Sarah is the funniest person I know. Is just what a ridiculous human. But no, I love this. So yeah, let's roll Fortnite theme today. We'll do that. So okay, so I have the GitHub CLI is incredible. We're using that, and now that I have the GitHub CLI, I've been able to fork and clone the open source repo all in one command, which I now have locally, and I'm ready to do stuff.
Yeah. So I think the first thing we could probably do is to create some trivial change.
Okay.
Because the trivial change will help move the conversation along. So
Sure.
if you can go to the docs folder, create a file called learnwithjason.md. And I think a good thing would do is like probably link to this conversation. I can go fill this out later and like sort of summarize this. But yeah, this, put some copy, learn with Jason. Excellent.
Okay.
I think that's perfect. I think now you can open a PR,
Okay.
actually commit this, and then
Yeah.
open the PR. Whichever way you open PRs.
So here's a question that I always have with fork PRs, and I think this is a matter of preference more than it is a matter of necessity. But when you open a PR from a forked repo, are you creating a branch, or are you just committing to main and then opening a PR against your main?
So this is actually covered in my contributing MD,
Okay, which
and
I can
the
read.
preference, yeah, the preference is actually creating a branch, mainly because having some description in your branch is always going to be helpful for the maintainer.
Hmm.
Um, I also do recommend adding the issue number in the branch name. It's not required,
Okay.
but yeah, there's my sort of, and these are all steps that I've actually stolen from other open source projects, stolen MIT licensed, so no attribution needed. But what I'm getting at is. Um, yeah, so there's my example of like adds new thing,
Okay.
and then
So what I will
that
do
would
is
be
I'll git check
ideal.
out a new branch. So dash B is for a new branch, and I will call this what was it, 1072 is the issue number.
Yep.
Um, yeah, 1072, and then we'll say add LWJ doc. Okay, so now we're in this doc. By the way, Starship is amazing and gives you all this context so that we can see where we
Oh,
are.
nice.
So I'm in this branch, and now if I look, I have one untracked file. That's what this question mark means. So I'm going to git add everything. And then we have it's now added. So I can git commit. And my message is going to be doc add a learn with Jason doc. Okay. So now there's nothing in my change here, but I can git push origin 1072.
Yeah, and there's a Talv's devs actually has this in the chat mentioned a question around sort of a forking and a branch on fork. Um, I prefer this too as well because if you have a fork, there's a new feature on GitHub that shipped a couple months ago where there's a button to fetch from upstream, so you can do this
Mm,
locally. Or if you have a fork, you can also fetch from upstream from the main branch. So if you're not pushing
nice.
to your main branch, you're not corrupting the history. So you don't have to delete the repo or delete the fork every time you want to contribute to the project if you don't touch main.
That's a great point. Okay, yeah, no, that's an excellent reason to not use the main branch then. Okay,
Yeah.
so now I have created this, and it looks like it gives me a shortcut where I could just click this button, but I'm in my CLI, and I love the CLI,
Yeah. You
so
can
I'm
do the
gonna
CLI command to.
GHPR create. Watch the magic, y'all. So I'm gonna send it to open source, and I'm gonna use my branch, and then it auto suggested a doc or a title, which that says doc add a learn with Jason doc. Good. Do you have a different format you prefer?
I think doc should work. I think because we do semantic versioning for the PR titles,
Mm-hmm.
because I squash all my commits. It's a whole other question, another soapbox I can get on. But yeah, I think actually just keep doc in there, because I think that should work. If it
Okay.
doesn't, we can fix it.
And then I've
I
got
normally just do
my.
like fix or feet.
Okay, so I'm gonna do, instead of using Nano, I'm gonna do something that I really like here, which instead of submitting this, I'm gonna continue in the browser. So watch what happens.
Yeah, yeah. And I was
Pops it
going to
open.
recommend doing that. Yeah,
Look at this. Okay, so now I have my PR set up, and it's like mostly set to go.
yeah,
And you do these through templates, right? So
yeah. So I have a PR template that gives you all this context.
and if I'm trying to learn how to add one of these, is that living in the repo?
Actually, it's not. That would be a great doc.
Ooh,
But
interesting. Yeah.
no, it is. It's one of those. It's funny because PR templates was something I didn't know until I was on a team and someone did it, and I was like, "What is this? Like, how is this working?" And it happened to be a former GitHub employee, actually CTO, former CTO of Netlify, David Calvera. He's
Oh,
the one that taught me how this works.
nice, nice, nice.
So yeah, I had no idea this was a thing, and I think a lot of people come to my repository is like, what's happening here? But what I want to say is like it's very important to not delete the context of this because this is necessary for me for generating release notes and change log docs.
Mm.
So I prefer everybody just to, just create a pull request, read it, and then edit to update the context of there. But here we've got you can check the box of documentation update,
Do
write a little
not leave this
description.
blank.
Yes.
So this
Um,
is
yeah.
doesn't really fix it. It just kind of addresses
Yes.
1072,
Yeah,
right?
I
So
think that's fair enough.
now we've set, where did it go? I bounced. So here's 1072 related tickets and documents. So I guess I can just keep this and say RE 1072. What did I just type? I said the right letters out or the right numbers out.
Yeah, that works. I don't know, 072. I'm not sure if that would have pulled up issue number 72 or not, but
Okay, so desktop, there is no visual change really. Added tests, no, because they're not needed. Added to documentation, sure did.
yeah, and this is
And
actually really nice. I just want to point out that these questions are nice because this does spark people to say, "Oh, I didn't add any tests," and they'll ask me, "Should I write tests? How can I approach this?" And I can
mhm.
even mentor them and coach them on how to approach writing tests in React. So again, this is like all stuff to help shepherd people to contribute to a project, even for the first time or second time or whatnot.
Mhm. Okay, so we've got next. Oh, come on now. 1072. Okay. So we know this is going to be part of a series of PRs instead of just being the one. We need to find a good animated GIF. What's the how does this make me feel? I'm feeling very pizza centric today. That's the one.
Oh, I've never seen this one before. I feel like I've seen all pizza gifts. And
Um
this is something I also learned at my time at Netlify. Actually, Netlify kind of made me the human I am today. But I add this little link because it gives me like a signal that people read the actual the PR template. If there's no GIF, it's like you don't get your stuff closed, but it does give me a better reaction, a better like it helps me to jump in to help
okay, I
review the
think
stuff.
why do these all have audio? When did Jiffy become a video channel? Okay, let's
Oh,
maybe just go with this is now how it makes me feel. Jeez. All right. Here's a
jeez.
small. Let's do a small. And then I'm
Oh,
gonna
I
go
didn't know you could do
back.
different sizes. Today I learned. That's helpful.
Adam Levine excited about
Oh, shout out
pizza.
to the accessibility.
Gotta add those alt tags.
Yeah.
Okay, so PRs with deleted sections will be marked invalid. Okay, now I'm gonna create my pull request.
That is the equivalent of when you go to someone's house and it says this house protected by this security system. I haven't set up automation for that yet, but it's on my it's on my plans.
Okay, so I have now set up this pull request. Here's our doc. We've got all the pieces, and it'll link through here where it shows that we did some stuff. This no joke is one of my favorite features of GitHub is this breadcrumb trail where you can say I'm working on this issue and you put a number and then it shows up in the sequence and you just get this nice timeline of this is what's happening.
Yeah. So a couple things I want to point out. We could actually check out the checks tab. If you scroll down to the where the statuses are, or you can click there, we'll see one failure, which I should probably add docs to the semantic release acceptable. I just added docs the last
Oh,
couple
it's
months. So,
docs, not doc. Okay.
oh, doc. Okay, that's what it was.
Okay, so let's
So yeah,
fix
we'll need to
that.
update the title to have an S. That's what it is. Okay,
Okay. Now,
cool. So that's going to trigger the actions to rerun.
okay.
Um, and then you're also going to see if you go to the conversation tab and scroll all the way down to where the end of the PR,
Oh, here.
well, where it ends, you're going to see a couple different things. You're going to actually see some skipped um, actions.
Mm-hmm.
We're also, you see it in big yellow font, two workflows are awaiting approval. And this is what I was talking about, the Bitcoin miner. You've never contributed to my project,
Mm-hmm.
and you're an unknown actor. Like, I don't know who you are. This project doesn't know who you are. I think Netlify actually does the same thing with deploy previews,
Mm-hmm.
where if this project does not know who you are, your first time contributor, it's not going to auto deploy stuff,
Right.
because for protection of the maintainer. So two things we could do, if you go to issue 1072, and you write in a comment dot take.
Dot
This is going to
take.
trigger So this will trigger an action to assign you to the issue. So you've literally never did anything in my project at all. So you commenting on my project, now you're outside contributor. You exist in the data. So if I look for a list of people who contributed to the project, you now show up. This is all back end stuff, more insider knowledge.
Ooh, look at
But
that.
now you've been assigned the issue, and this is something that it's been a limitation for a lot of open source projects. If I have so specifically the Pandas project, and this is where I stole this idea from. Again, MIT licensed, so steal is not actually their actual verb. But the Pandas project, I was chatting with them, and their issue is they have a bunch of issues, and they want people to just jump in and take them.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want to be the sort of forcing factor to be like, okay, you have this issue, and then go back and go, hey, you're assigned this issue, or you're still working on this. So I've created automation so that anybody, and this is all written in contributing MD, anybody on the project can just jump in and grab an issue. Like, don't ask me for permission. Like, just go ahead and assign it. And then if you want to follow up and ask questions, like, that's definitely possible. I think after assigning, I should add a comment and say, okay, thanks for taking the issue. Here are next steps type of
Sure.
deal.
Sure.
It is something I probably should add as I'm thinking out loud. But you saw yourself assigned. If you go to my, this is a great time to take a break and look at my workflows folder. So if you go into the code tab, actually, here you go, inside of VS Code. Yeah.
Assign
and then
yourself.
assign yourself. This is what the action's doing. So here I've got the line one, it's called assign. I'm watching for any created or edited issue comments. And then I am running an action that I created myself. I took the idea, it was inspired from Pandas. I ended up writing the code a little bit differently than what they did. But it's going to that repository, and it's going to be using this GitHub token and assigning yourself. So
Nice.
that's the gist of it. So that works. Now you're
I'm not gonna lie. I'm continually impressed by how much you can do with very little code once you've kind of got the core of it set up somewhere. Because this is just a repo. So if we go to this GitHub repo, which I guess we can just do that.
Yeah, you can definitely check out the GitHub repo. You can, and this is also very important. You should probably check out, if you're going to use a GitHub action, go look at the code, make sure it looks legit. Now, I did something very clever here, where I'm using component steps inside of action YAML. This is a way to write scripts inside of one file. Because this was just a handful of bash, I threw it into action.yaml. I'm running it as if it looks like an action workflow.
Mm-hmm.
And this action workflow gets run in my project. So I can basically make this reusable because I use the same model in multiple projects.
Nice. Yeah, that's great. Well, cool. So now we have our ability to take an action, which I've done. So now I'm assigned.
Yeah, and then now in the PR, I still had to approve your PR, so I clicked the button while we were waiting.
Okay.
So now it's going to start running all the other actions. So I've got CodeQL, which is analyzing any sort of security vulnerabilities as well as performance issues inside of my code inside of my project. So if you add anything that is not performant in my Markdown, it will let me know. Obviously, this was going to check code files and not Markdown.
Sure.
And then it's going to run my CI. The one thing I did want to point out is the difference between pull request webhooks and pull request target, which we'll get into in the next thing we're about to do. Pull request is what it sounds like. It's a webhook that runs on pull request. So you open the PR, it runs. If there are any tokens that is in the pull request, it's going to run on your tokens. So you as they call it a GitHub actor. The actor of generating the PR, it's going to run on your tokens, and that works totally fine because in my CI I have I'm not even leveraging any sort of tokens or personal access tokens.
Mm-hmm.
In the semantic pull requests, as well as the actually semantic pull requests, I'm not using tokens. The welcome message, though, that does use a token. And this is what we're going to recreate. So
Okay.
that uses a token because it needs to write to PR comments. So if you, it looks like, did it complete? Oh, we got skipped. So it might have to get regenerated. Wonder if I can, it got skipped because we didn't know who you were.
Ah, okay.
But now we know who you are. So I'm just going to rerun that on my end,
Okay.
just so we can see the comment get generated. This is like one of those cases where like I planned all this out, but also I've contributed this to all the time, and all my other GitHub accounts have contributed this, so it was hard to sandbox that experience. But we're doing it live. So now it's going to rerun, and then you'll see a comment show up and say, "Hey, thanks so much."
Okay, so we're watching. Things are happening. CI/CD is almost done. We'll just give Adam Levine some screen time.
Yeah, I think this is gonna. I didn't think this through. This actually, it's not gonna. It looks like it was still skipped. Why is the welcome message not saying hello? Somebody said hello to Jason. This is
Someone greet me.
Yeah, if not, I can run this one more time. I think I can run it manually. If not, we can move on and we'll see. We'll rebuild that message. But essentially, what's going to happen? Actually, you know what? I'll just rather than belaboring this, I can just look at another PR, which I did get a first time PR recently.
Okay.
Which we can just look at. We just look at that message. Which looking for the other Jason that just recently contributed. Oh, here we go. PR number 1059.
Just gonna click in and then edit. 1059.
Yeah, so this would have been the message if we didn't go about the roundabout way to do this. That would have been the message that would have showed up, which is like, hey, thanks so much. Join the Discord. And that's, again, intentional because I want people to be comfortable to ask questions. And like I personally, I don't like asking open-ended questions inside of my issues or PR comments because, you know, it exposes my lack of knowledge, you know, imposter syndrome. We all deal with it. So I just want to make sure people have a place that they can find me and ask those questions, which they, I wouldn't say the majority of folks do, but a handful of people do follow through and do that.
Cool. So, yeah. I mean, I do. And I love this, like the fact that this is just right here and then it gives you a clear next step. And also it lets you know, like, I've opened PRs and I've also been the maintainer who sees a PR get opened and then nothing happens for weeks. And it's not because the maintainer, at least when I was the maintainer, it's not because I wanted to ignore somebody. It's because I just like, sometimes I just can't. Like I like look at my GitHub notifications and I'm just like, I can't, not today. I can't do it today. And then I just close the tab. And so you know, I love this idea of at least acknowledging it. Like there is a place for you to go. There's a next step. You know, it wasn't just like thrown into the void, and that it's not a review. It's not like actual progress, but it's better than the void of silence when you just kind of open up a PR and nothing happens.
Yeah, and it's the full disclosure. I didn't have this originally. This was just a link. I'd point people to the README or the contributing MD, and then I realized people were just not getting to the Discord. It was like too many steps to get there. So I replaced all those links and all the other context. So like, just go to the Discord if you have any questions. We'll be back, and like honestly, like I've had a very busy week. I've been doing a lot of interviews for my team, as well as we shipped 2 features in the last week.
So you're really slacking off there, huh?
I just slacking off, and I feel like it. I feel like I've taken some time to work longer hours on other projects.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, so basically, like I do go dark on time to time for reasons, or like I'm about to go on a week off of work next week, and I won't be dark. Actually, I'm probably going to work on the features I was mentioning before, but I intentionally Make myself available in Discord, but I don't always make myself available in. I'm laughing because there's somebody who said hello on your PR, or on your issue. The chat they're on top of everything.
I appreciate it. Thank you, chat, for making me feel welcome.
But sorry, my note that I was going to make is that at GitHub, we use GitHub to build GitHub. So my notifications are unreal. So if you there are repos and projects and other folks on different organizations internally at GitHub who are hitting me up in notifications because we don't do email. We just do GitHub issues. So for that reason, it makes it hard to find open sourced issues and PRs and stuff like that. So
you just gave me anxiety by telling me that you only use GitHub notifications. Oh my God. How do you, okay. You know what? I'm not going to talk about this right now. I have so many questions.
I would just say anybody prospective GitHub employees who want to interview and get a job at GitHub, it's not that bad. Like you could unsubscribe to stuff. I just track mentions, to be honest.
Okay.
Because my mentions are like, I don't know, I'm kind of a big deal at GitHub. Just saying. So people mention me on things. So I do get mentioned and ask questions inside of issues a lot.
People mention me on things. I like that. That needs to be like a t-shirt or an animated GIF.
Yeah.
People mention me on things. Okay, so we have let's see, about 40 minutes remaining, and I am ready to let's tackle. Let me go ahead and merge your PR. Thanks for the docs. We're going to make that work. I do realize we could have just triggered a new change and it would have rerun all the actions. When I was trying to rerun it, it runs it in a sandbox environment. So if you make any other changes to anywhere else, it's running in that sandbox. So in order to I guess, bust the cache, it is actually pushing another commit. Got it.
You could do manual triggers, which I didn't have set up for this. So
got it.
But we won't belabor that. We'll actually create our own action. So
yeah, let's do it.
What I want you to do
is I can delete my branch now. Cleaning it right on up.
Thanks for keeping it tidy.
And then I can let's git checkout main, and then I'm going to git pull upstream.
Well, actually, before you do that, if you go into your repo, I just wanted to it's the same thing, but if you go to your repo on your fork, I just wanted to show that quick.
Let's totally do that. That's absolutely what we should do. So I'm going to go to my fork, which is here. Oh, we deleted it though. So
yeah, your branch.
Let me get rid of my branch. Okay. So now,
and below the code button, there's a fetch upstream.
Oh, glory.
So it's a little trivial now because the only change you have is one commit, and I squash all the commits, so it's going to be one commit. So now you can just pull from your origin main, or you can just git pull, which is going to default to origin as well.
Oh, beauty! It's so good.
Yeah, so this is
I love
amazing
it so much.
Because there's so much dancing that you have to do to rebase main, pull, remote, that now it's just one button.
Well, yeah, and I mean, you saw I was about to go into all this stuff of I was going to run the commands that I've memorized, and I was kind of do my little but it's all muscle memory. If you distracted me in the middle of that process, I'd have to start all over again.
Yeah. And I think I actually opened an issue for the CLI to make it easier on the CLI. So rather than click the button in the UI, it could have been like gh repo fetch upstream or whatever the command is. I'm saying it out loud because if everybody else wants to jump on the issue and say, hey, +1, don't do that. But it'd be a great signal so we can get that in the CLI as well.
Go add a lot of heart emojis to it.
Yes, reactions are great.
Yeah. Okay. So now I have our updated. If I go look in my code here, I'm looking in the docs here. Here it is. But now we're on the main branch. Here we can see that we're on the main branch. So we're merged. We're merged. We're up to date with upstream, and I'm ready to do more stuff. Which it sounds like we're going to be getting into actions here. So do I go back to this workflows folder?
Yep. You can create a new workflow, and in this workflow, actually, I don't know what a great name is. We can eventually get to the point where we check for linked issues.
Okay.
So like at a PR, you can actually, if you go back to your PR in the sidebar, you could just show there's a section, or I guess any PR to be honest. There's a section called linked issues, and this will give you Yeah, right there. So like for this PR, there's no linked issues.
Mhm.
So we can write a quick script to check for linked issues, and then write a comment and say, hey, there's no linked issues. Pretty
Okay.
trivial, but it's actually it would be super useful to actually run through this because other people who are on the same horse that I'm on, which is every PR should have a linked issue. If there's no linked issue, open an issue first and then talk about this. Even if it's like sort of a hand wavy, like I opened the PR, but by the way, I'm gonna have the conversation over here. It's a good signal to like, it's okay that your code doesn't get merged because there was no discussion. The discussion helps get your PR merged.
Got it. Okay. So let's do it.
So
We
we'll
want,
create a workflows file.
and it's going to be called like check linked issue dot YAML, right?
Yep,
Okay.
that works.
That's as much as I know about YAML.
Excellent. You're right there with me. So actually, to be honest, the whole DevOps YAML thing, like something that I was familiar with thanks to like serverless.com, because they were the first tool that forced me to use the YAML.
JSON.
Excellent.
YAML. Oh God. Oh no, we're in a loop. Oh, somebody just called it again. It's like, shit. I don't even know what to do if that's broken.
I actually haven't seen that one before. That's amazing.
We don't do a lot of YAML on the show. There aren't a lot of occasions for it.
Oh, well, you gotta get more YAML dev advocates or whatever, senior YAML developers.
I mean, you know, Netlify is a TOML shop, Brian.
Yes, that is true. TOML for the wind, which I think. Oh, you know what? Actually, TOML wasn't used. We used HCL was the original language that was leveraged for GitHub Actions, but
yeah,
in the later version of Actions,
that.
we ended up using YAML.
Mm-hmm. Who is Tom? Tom is Tom Preston Warner. I don't know if you were actually trolling or if you knew the answer, but yeah, Tom Preston Warner. It was obvious to him, I think.
MySpace guy.
No, not MySpace guy, GitHub guy. So
actually, fun fact: GitHub's office is in the same place that MySpace office used to be.
Wait, is Tom MySpace Tom?
No, Tom is not MySpace Tom.
Well, he didn't just put on a wig and he was like, okay, now I'm not MySpace guy anymore.
I don't know. We should get Tom on the phone, everybody.
We need an investigative journalist stat.
We need to know this now. Hold the phone.
Has anybody ever seen MySpace Tom and Tom Preston Warner in the same place at the same time?
Honestly, no.
Yeah, I mean, probably not, right?
Yeah, okay. Not something I've seen.
I am severely digressing here, and I don't want to run us out of time by being ridiculous. So let's.
Yeah, so let's start by naming this action workflow. So it'd be name : and check for linked issues, I guess, is a.
Okay, so we're going to check for a linked issue.
And then we could do on pull request.
On pull request, like so, right?
Yep.
Okay.
And then we'll need to, so this is like the first thing we did was just named it, and then we are setting up what we're going to be watching for. So we're going to be watching for any pull request that gets opened. We're going to check for linked issues. So going below, we'll have to start the jobs. So with GitHub Actions, you get 20 asynchronous jobs. And then you can name these jobs with an ID. So this could be like check pull request or check hyphen pull request :
Oh,
I mean, hyphen underscore. I mean, that's it's up to you.
You know what I just realized? It's been so long since I've written YAML that I didn't realize you could put hyphens in identifiers.
Yeah. Welcome to the club. So then you want to do a new line. So basically with the 20 asynchronous jobs, this would be our only one job.
Okay.
So we'll just I don't know, tab over. Anyway, I don't know how to explain YAML, sorry. And this will have to, we'll need to do runs -on. And there are some VS Code extensions that helps. Yeah. That help with the sort of auto completion, which we don't have to look into now, but we'll just use Ubuntu -latest because that's what I use for everything.
Okay.
Also, it's to be quite honest, the best one to use because Mac OS it's literally trash can Macs inside of a server. So not the best the best use of using servers. If anybody from Apple's here and they work on the infrastructure side, please ship some blades, some actual server infrastructure. That'd be awesome for everybody. And then this is going to be an interesting part. So this is where we're going to actually name the steps of our job. So we do steps : and then at this point we'll start writing code. Yeah, and then
do you have to indent?
Let's just do. You will need to indent, yes.
Okay.
And then, for the sake of just getting something up and running, because this won't run, mainly because you're an outsider in this project, do runs and then echo hello world. And then commit this as a work in progress branch. And I just want to show this because we're gonna switch line 2 to something different.
Is this?
But I just want to.
Is this correct? Do I have to quote this or anything?
No, that works.
Okay. So then I will get back into my CLI. Let's check out a new branch, and we will call this 1072 add GitHub action. And then we'll git add everything, check status, there it is. So we'll commit and say, would this be a feature or a chore? What do you think?
This will be a feature because it's going to be adding an actual action.
Okay, so then I'm gonna git push origin 1072 add GitHub action, and then we will GitHub PR create. Okay, we're gonna push it to my branch. Okay, gonna give it no, we want the title to be feature add GitHub action to what do I want to do? GitHub action to check for linked issues, and we're gonna skip and continue in the browser. Okay.
Yep.
And it opened in the wrong tab.
Did it open? You can also make this a draft PR too as well, just for a signal for everybody else. If you hit the drop down, do draft.
Okay, so I'm gonna skip all these. Well, I guess I can do.
Yeah.
Whatever. We'll check some boxes. in here, I think.
we can check boxes later. I tend to be in the practice of PRing early, mainly as a signal of like progress and stuff is happening. It's also a great way to get comments on your code. The one thing I just wanted to point out is the fact that this action is not going to run. So if you look for, what was the name of the action?
It was like check linked issue or something. It's not in here.
Yes. And it's not in there because this is another sort of threat mechanism that you cannot open a PR to action and also have it run in the PR that you have it open on, if that makes sense. So
seems reasonable.
Yeah, it seems reasonable, but like when we changed this, like a lot of people were kind of like question marks. And it just really comes down to like we had to make a decision on, and we as in GitHub had to make a decision on like, in open source, is it really that important to have someone open up a PR with an issue? That you could, it comes up another question around testing actions. Like you're able to fork and test this locally on your fork, but you should not be testing new actions live in quote unquote production, because what happens with this action is actually going to be running on actual code that's in the PR itself. So I just wanted to point out that this is not going to show up in the list. So we're going to be running this mostly from your fork going forward. So that way we can actually see it being triggered. So with that being said, we might have to test this when in your fork PR.
Thank you, CJ, for making this into a real thing. That is hilarious. Okay, good job. Well done. So now that I have this PR and I have an action, the action's not running. We do need to test it before we merge it, though, right? Because we don't want just chaos to ensue. So what is our step if we want to make that happen?
Yeah. So unfortunately, we'll have to do another PR inside of your branch. Inside of your fork to actually test this out.
Okay.
And in that way, we can actually get this to, we can test some of the logic we're going to build in a second. So Yeah, if you want to make another branch and then make a PR to forked open source or JLink
To
store slash
my
open source.
own, yeah, okay.
Yeah,
All right. So then what we can do is just like open up an empty PR, just change whatever.
yeah.
Okay. I guess we'll just open that doc because that doc is an easy thing to change that saves me from having to remember how to do an empty commit. Okay, so it got to change.
You actually could do on the same branch. You could do gh repo PR create, and then point it to in the dropdown, point it to your PR. Because right now it's pointing to upstream. So if you point it to your PR, it should be able to create another PR.
Oh,
I don't know. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Wait. GHPR create, and then where should we push the branch? I want you to push the branch.
Yeah.
No, I want it to be.
It doesn't give you a choice to.
Yeah, I think I need to change it. So let's do this. Let's do PR create help, and then it should show me what the upstreams are. Maybe it does. It probably does. I'm probably host owner repo.
Okay, select another repository.
I think that's what I want, right? So I'm going to do R,
Yeah.
and we'll do J Langsdorff open sourced, and I think that'll do the same thing. So we're going to push that.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So that's what we want. So I'm pushing, and this time I am just going to commit it because I don't care. And so we've created our PR, so I can click and open it, and now I'm in my branch, and it should be running our checks, which it isn't.
It is not. And I think this actually might be a limitation just in general. Sorry.
Oh wait, no, it's doing a thing.
We have an error. I think we have an error.
Okay, so
Waiting
what's
for
my
checks,
error? What did I do? Cannot be shown. Step must define a uses or a run key. So I typoed.
Okay.
Hey, this is why we test. So is it run?
No S.
Oh no. Okay. All right. So
Yeah.
that's
So we are doomed from the start. But we found it. That was fast.
we'll do origin test GitHub action, and then that should re-kick this thing off. And now it is running an action. Good. Check for linked issue. It's doing stuff. So it did its thing and it passed. So let's go click and see and run echo hello world. It did in fact echo hello world. Hey,
Yep, looks good to me.
We've done the thing.
Yeah. So now we can actually write some legit logic.
All right, let's do it.
In there, and in the issue, I made a link to GitHub script, which I don't think we actually talked about the last time I was on because I don't think it even existed last time. But GitHub script gives us an ability to write JavaScript instead of YAML, which sounds scary, but it's going to be okay. I'll walk you through it.
Okay, so I'm going to go to issues here, and we're going to go to GitHub script. Here we are.
Yeah, so this is the README will give you like the gist of JS. Sorry, I'm just reading the chat. There, people are reacting to my dad joke. But basically, if you scroll out of the README, there'll be an example where you could use GitHub script as an action. This is a little bit further down. There's got to be. Did they change the README on me? There we go. So actually, just below here, this is an example of using external scripts. GitHub script. Where's my JavaScript? Okay, keep going down. This is about JSON encoding.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah, so we can just copy that whole block where it says console.log.
Wow,
and then we actually,
this
is actually the code we want to write. I forgot that this was, I mean, if you want to do some copy pasta coding.
Let's do some copy pasta and run through it just because we are running a little short on time and I want to make sure we finish. So We're pulling in Actions GitHub script, which is the repo that I just dropped here. So let me drop it in the links. And then we are saying with a script, and our script is going to do github.issues.create comment. And then we know the issue number, we know the repo owner, we know the repo, all from context, and context comes in from the action.
Yeah, and this GitHub object, that's actually OctaKit. It's a wrapper around OctaKit to give you the entire context of the entire GitHub SDK inside of YAML. It's pretty powerful. And I don't know if you're going back to like Gregor was just on one of the previous episodes. He's the maintainer of that stuff under the hood.
It is incredible. You should absolutely go and check that episode out. There's so much cool stuff that we can do with it. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about this. So let's get in here and we'll be able to post this issue. He's in the chat today. What's up, Gregor? Good to see you.
What's up? So, I mean, we could probably just change the comment and call it good and see the comment get written inside your PR on your fork. And then once we've confirmed that works, then we can do the same thing upstream.
Use the old Discord comment. Let's do git commit GitHub, and then we'll do a message of feature add comment. Okay, so now we've got our conversation here. So what we should see is our check should all kick off again once this comes in. So here we go. They're running again. It just went yellow. I might need to just refresh this to get the UI to update for me.
One thing I should probably add about GitHub script is it's a great way to prototype actions quickly, like what we're doing. What I do eventually is take that script and put it into a JavaScript file. So that way I can test it properly and get syntax highlighting and all that stuff, because YAML and JavaScript, they don't play well. So it's, again, like probably not a permanent solution, despite the fact that some of my GitHub scripts have been around for years. But also, you could also take that same script that works and then make your own action that can be used in other projects as well. So if you just want to quickly do an example live on Learn with Jason, like it's definitely my go-to.
Very cool. Yeah. And it worked. Like we can see here, we have successfully added a thing. It comes in from GitHub Actions. This is actually really nice because then it's not impersonating a person. We were able to do this without having to go create a bot, which like bot users are fine to set up, but it is kind of a pain, and there's like steps and hoops. So being able to do this quickly is really, really nice.
And there's a security risk too as well when you create bot users, because then you have to maintain, two-factor authentication on the bot user across teams. And if that person leaves who owns the bot users, then you have this whole handoff thing, which is why we recommend like things like GitHub Apps or GitHub Actions to do this instead. Yeah,
absolutely. So, okay, so now we've got this. So I think the last piece that we need to do is let's update this to say what we're eventually going to say. Hey, you didn't link an issue from this PR. Could you please do that? That's a bad message. That's not what I would actually say, but we're short on time, so we're going to ship it. Now I need to add the check. So how do we actually get it to check for this?
Check for looking for issues?
Yeah, for a linked issue.
Yeah, so I don't know if it's easier for me to give you a link to code that works and does this, or if I talk you through it.
Well, let's see what's left on our list here. We've got we wanted to talk about workflow permissions. That's what we've been talking about. Then
we haven't got that far yet.
Are we going to have?
Because workflow.
Is that what we're doing right now? Finish off this PR.
We did an audible, so we're doing implementing a different action.
Got it.
But that would have been also writing a comment. So basically that's because like with my storybook, I have a Netlify deploy that's separate from open source, and I want to actually have a storybook link for that specifically. I can address that later off air. But we can actually, in the GitHub script, we can check to see the current PR and see if there's any link issues, if that makes sense.
Okay.
So
can I just write like straight? Am I just writing JavaScript in here? Like I can do whatever I want.
You're definitely writing.
Oh my God,
JavaScript.
This is I'm like, how many people are screaming in the chat right now? Give me an F in the chat if you're excited about JavaScript and YAML.
Yeah. So, and there's I guess the easiest way is we just capture a response from our issue number. So
Okay.
we have, basically, let's just do a const just above there. We want to get the context of the issue.
Okay.
But not only
So
just the issue, we want to find all the events. Basically, just type PR. I don't know why am I
what,
blanking
PR
on
details,
naming
PR.
variables? Yeah, PR details sounds great.
Okay.
And then here we'll do some async stuff because we can. Just type await,
Okay.
and then GitHub.issues dot list events for timeline.
Like that.
So this will get all the events on the timeline, and this is going to take a couple different parameters. So if you do like a curly brace, like an object, and then the first thing will be issue number, and that could be context dot issue number.
Is it this set? Like, can I just copy paste?
Yeah,
this?
actually, it's everything there. Yeah.
Okay, great.
So that way we can get all the events, and then from those events, or those PR details, we'll need to filter those and look for anything that's called cross reference. So in quotes. So this filter details maybe, or RFS sounds great.
PR details dot filter, and then I'm going to get one detail.
Yeah.
And then I can say we want to see if, is it like detail dot name or
Dot event.
dot event, and we want to see if it equals. You said it and I forgot it immediately.
Cross dash referenced.
Like that.
Yep.
Okay, so I'm just going to return this.
Is it's PR details dot data.
Data dot
The
filter.
JSON object always going to be in sort of squashed inside the data.
That's right. That's right.
For the most part, we could probably run this in console.log because at this point I'm kind of flying blind, but just to see what the cross-reference data looks like. I think that would be good.
Yeah. Okay, let's do it. Here we go. So, well, actually, what we're gonna get here is this should be an array, right? And if the detail dot event, if it's empty, then we know we're done, right?
Yeah, I was coming to that conclusion.
If
it's empty,
length is greater than 0, then we can just return.
Write that comment.
We're done. Get out. And then if it is 0, then we write this comment.
Yep. Cool. Pair programming for the win.
But I got to spell it right. Okay. So theoretically speaking, then this should work.
Theoretically, I have low confidence in my memory to write code, but here we go. Yeah, and there's some other ways to debug this. Like there's a GitHub user called Crazy Max who has a lot of really awesome actions. I use one of his actions called dump context, and literally that's what it does. It dumps the context of the PR that you opened, and then you can sort of inspect that inside the action runner. So I basically do that a ton.
Nice. So I'm pulling up Sarah's VS Code theme because somebody else just mentioned this as well. This is the Fortnite theme from Sarah Drasner. We'll make sure that shows up in the show notes for folks. Okay, so theoretically speaking, we have added a comment. I did not add a link from this PR. Good. So that means that it worked. Now,
yeah.
Let's see if I link an issue, which I would do by let's edit, and then I can just say like
10.7.2, I think is the one we've been working on.
I don't have it.
Oh, that's actually, so you can't link it. You have to actually put the full URL because the shorthand of pound is going to
be local.
Only look internally on that repo. Yeah.
Okay. So we're going to drop in the whole thing, and then GitHub does this cool thing that I like where it gets shortened. I love it.
Yeah, it gets shortened, but also it names the names the repo that's coming from.
Mm-hmm. And now we have, do we have a linked issue now?
It might take a refresh. And honestly, I don't know if linked issues work when you have issues turned off in your fork.
Do I have issues turned off in my fork? Oh, I do, don't I?
Yeah, because it is a fork.
So should I?
Theoretically, this would work. It's just that we're operating in a sort of what's the term? We're not firing on all cylinders because we don't have issues turned on. So
Okay, I just turned issues on.
Yeah, and then go ahead and create a different issue because I think it needs to be referenced within the same project.
So that's usually how I open issues. Okay, so then
That's an automatic closure. I should set up an automation. If anybody opens an issue with that title, no thanks.
Okay, so we're gonna change this. So instead of being, it'll fix 2. So I'm gonna update, and then now we have linked issues, and one is set. It says it has a linked issue.
There we go. Yep. And technically, we're not checking for previous comments, so you might need to delete all those other comments. We could also do we could do logic to check to see if the comment exists already and remove that comment.
Probably should, but I'm gonna just make a new. I'm gonna make a new PR here that'll just change this. Git commit. And this will update our PR. There it goes. Running our checks again. And if we did this right, we will not see, we'll see the action complete, but we won't get a comment.
Yes.
So here's our action. It's queued.
The anticipation.
No, I screwed it up. Okay. So something in here, and this is absolutely like, now we have, let's see, what do we even do here? Let's console log refs, and that should contain one thing.
We're specifically looking. Oh no, that should console log refs, because my assumption is maybe there's something else being cross-referenced. Sorry. It's not, there's no cross-referenced. It's coming back empty.
Yeah.
So I wonder if that actual...
so maybe I should log the data too.
Yeah.
So we'll do a log of PR data,
PR details.
data, and we'll see what comes in there. Okay, I need to set this to upstream so I can do it fast. Origin test GitHub action. And then we're going to get a new push. And this one is going to give us a bunch of logs. So here we've got check pull request. And so we can look. And let's see what logs out. We're now in a race against time.
Yeah, and there's definitely a better way to actually set this up locally to test and debug this. But it's not too bad to push to another commit.
Committer message, event committed, event committed, event reviewed, committed.
So we actually are not getting any cross-reference events. And maybe this is a limitation. And
committed.
I don't think there was any changes though.
So let's just look at event, and we'll just pop through these and see what we found. So we've got 11 events: committed, committed, reviewed, committed, commented, committed, comment deleted, committed, commented, committed, committed. Okay, so we're not getting a cross-reference. So what that shows us is that the action itself works. We were just looking for the wrong thing, and that's okay, because I threw Brian a curveball as soon as we started, and I was like, hey, what if we changed your whole plan and did something different? So this is not anything on GitHub Actions. This is 100% me doing what I do best, which is sowing chaos.
And me running with it. So for context, it's like we're pretty close. It's just trying to figure out how to track linked issues inside the API. So we might actually have to hit a different endpoint. I know Gregor is a whiz, and he's in the chat. If he wants to comment on the PR and tell us exactly what the endpoint is, maybe we can fix it after later. But I feel like we're so close, and this is something that I've been so ready to have in my project, and also recommend other people have in their project. So when this does get actually implemented, I'll probably throw out a blog post and explain this and point people to this to use in their projects.
Okay, so here's what we'll do. Here's what we were able to do today. We managed to kind of set up and fork. We played with the CLI. We got an action set up, and we got that action running where we're able to kind of execute using OctaKit arbitrary stuff. So let me actually link to OctaKit as well. OctaKit. And OctaKit is super powerful. We're using the JS version. So you can do just about anything in the API, if not everything in the API, through OctaKit.js. And that's what we're using under the hood here. So anything that we've got GitHub that's OctaKit. And so we're pulling in different things. We just have to figure out what the right API endpoint is, which is what we didn't get. So what works about this action is everything. It does exactly what it's intended to do. What we're wrong on is we are not pulling in the right details to figure out what the linked issue is. So yeah, Gregor, if you want to help us figure out what the right endpoint is, we can update this PR and we'll link that from the show notes so that everybody can see the working example when they reference this. And then yeah, Brian, I'm stoked to see your blog post on this because it is very, very cool. With that being said, where should people go if they want to keep up with you or take next steps here?
Yeah. So I'm BWO on Twitter. That's usually the centralized hub of all the stuff I do. Also, no pressure, Gregor. I know you got a busy life as well. Open source for the win. Also, I have a Polywork, which I guess I can shout that out. b.dougie.dev.
Oh, wait, yeah, so Polywork b.dougie.dev, like that.
So if you just did
you
URL,
just did it as a thingy.
Yeah, as a custom URL.
Oh, I need to do one of these. If you
just want to keep up with like my blog posts and YouTube videos, it's the best place to keep up with that. So follow me there because that's a cool place. The kids are hanging out at today. And
oh look, wait, do I have one of these? I do have one of these.
Oh, you do.
And now I can follow.
Congratulations.
Look at me go. So now I'm following Brian Douglas on Polywork.
If you scroll down just a little bit, you'll see I have a YouTube channel. And every now and then when I have a YouTube channel, YouTube video, I think you should watch. I throw it up on there as well.
I very much enjoy all of your YouTube content. It's very fun. So
here's a full 3 months of food without needing any refrigeration or special storage. And you're looking at
Stop it. Whatever you're doing, just stop, everybody, please. Okay. All right.
Hey, there I am.
Yeah, look at this guy. Also, I love that our lighting kind of matches. like the purple on mine just kind of fades into the purple on yours. It's excellent.
I should have updated it, but I don't know. Can I get green going on this one? No.
So while you're doing that, got it, nailed it. So as usual, this show has been live captioned. We've had Rachel with us all day. Thank you so much, Rachel, for being here. She's from White Coat Captioning. That is made possible through the support of our sponsors, Netlify, Fauna, Auth0, and Hasura, all kicking in to make the show more accessible to more people. Go to the homepage, click on their logos, go check out their websites. They're cool folks. We've got episodes on all of these, so go dig around in the archive, see some things. I think that's it, right? Like anywhere else that you want people to go check before we call this one done?
No, those are the two main places. Also, youtube.com/GitHub. I'll have some. I've been throwing videos up there a while now. It does get lost in the sauce a bit because we have a lot of content that goes there. But like and subscribe. If you see my face, like if you can.
Smash that like button, ring the bell. Yeah, do the thumbs up. All those things.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely, 100%. I always want to go so far with these jokes, and then I just like.
I had no response because that was my joke.
But yeah, definitely get in there. Go make all of that happen. I guess I can. Here, I'll do it. Yeah, and we're gonna ring that bell.
Excellent. We got one.
Don't tell anybody. I'm totally going to go unring that bell afterwards because I have too many notifications.
I feel you.
Thank you so much for hanging out today, Brian. I really appreciate it. Make sure you go and check out this schedule because we have an absolutely incredible schedule coming up. This is only a portion of what's coming because I've been too lazy to update my website. We've got like 25 episodes in the schedule coming up. So make sure you add on Google Calendar. That'll put this on your calendar. It doesn't send you notifications or block your calendar. It just lets you know when things are happening so that you can always catch episodes when they come up. And remember, like, you can go find us on YouTube. I should probably add the Learn with Jason YouTube on here. Like, I don't think there's any way to find it anywhere.
Yeah, I know where to look for it. I love catching up on the ones that I miss. My trick is I watch them 2x.
That is a hack.
Background, yeah.
All right, y'all. Well, I think that's all the time we have for today. Chat, stay tuned. We're gonna go find somebody to raid. Brian, what did I just do? I read Ben out of the chat and then turned and looked at you. Brian, thank you so much for hanging out today. This was an absolute pleasure. Can't wait to see what y'all keep doing with GitHub Actions. All right, y'all. Thanks for hanging out. We'll see you next time.